I'm coming out on the side of nature here. I think gender is largely a component of genetics and the brain. I do think that the expression of gender can reflect the culture in which you were raised, or even the family in which you were raised, depending on what country you live in. You may, obviously wear different clothes or wear your hair differently, and that's going to also reflect those cultural assumptions and cultural ways of expressing gender. But I think gender itself is really, I think it's pretty conclusively been shown that that's a factor of genetics, and it's really a nature and not a nurture issue. But let's take a look at the three basic components of nature. Now you can look at these three components as sliding switches, really, like knobs on a stereo, little sliding knobs, because what they are is they express really a spectrum. You can fall anywhere within a spectrum on each of these three components. The first component is your biological birth-assigned gender, and that is what you're born with. And it's really a factor, for the most part, of your genitals. You're born and they take a look at the baby and they say it's a boy or they say it's a girl. And for most people, I think the assumption is that it's that simple, that this isn't really much of a problem. You look at the kid and you know what you're looking at. The problem is that that's not really the case. There is a small percentage of people, but a real percentage of people, these are real people, who are intersex. And for them, their genitalia and other sexual features may be ambiguous. And they may be addressed through surgery or not. That's a decision to be made by them, their doctor, their parents. But these are real people. Some of them are wonderful people. Some of them are very prominent and very accomplished people who do live with gender ambiguity physically in their bodies. So that's something to keep track of and sort of be aware of, that it's out there. A lot of things about gender tend to make us nervous, as a culture at least, or as a society, and so we ignore them. And let's be aware that intersex people exist. The second component here of gender is your sort of chosen personal sense of your gender. And this does not necessarily reflect your gender that's assigned to you at birth. Many people find that someone looks at them and says it's a boy, and they get up into a few years on, and even in early childhood, they start to think, but I'm a girl, or vice versa. And this, again, these are real people. These are trans people. You, I guess, would call them transsexuals. There are a lot of words that people choose to self-define around gender. It's a tricky topic. Again, these are sliding scales. So we self-define with words sometimes we make up to express how we feel about ourselves. I use the term trans just to sort of find a word that we can, sum up everyone with. People who are transsexual, people who are, differently gendered, people who feel that their gender they're born with maybe doesn't reflect their expression, their personal sense of their gender and how they'd like to express that. Now, the third component of gender is sexual orientation. And this is, again, a sliding switch. It's a sliding knob. You have lesbian, you have gay, you have bisexual, and probably as many wonderful and fanciful terms as you can come up with to express, how a person chooses which gender they would like to not only have sex with, but also fall in love with. Don't forget that sexual orientation is more than just, this is the gender that I choose as a sexual, mate. It's also, this is the person I choose, to sort of complete my life and to be my partner. So these are the three components, and I think you can look at each one. In birth gender, clearly, we're looking at genetics, we're looking at the human body here. That's nature. Your personal sense of gender, again, I think this is probably something that lies within the brain. I think that if you ask a transsexual person, they'll say, I don't know why I have a woman trapped inside the body that was born with the assignment male, but that's what I've got, or if I feel like a man trapped in a body that was assigned female. But it seems to really be, again, a nature issue. And now when we look at sexual orientation, I think, again, we very clearly are looking at people are born the way they are, and orientation can shift around a little bit. Sometimes people feel that they're straight and then they decide they're gay, or maybe they're bi, or maybe they're straight again. Maybe they come up with different words for, whatever they are. But again, I think that's just the way you're born. They have done experiments where they've attempted to raise, there was a child whose genitals were badly mutilated in a flawed surgery. And it is a tragic case. This is back, I think, in the 60s or the 70s. And it was a little boy who was raised because of this sort of disastrous surgical procedure as a girl. The idea was to spare him embarrassment, to raise him as a girl, and to even give him female genitalia. And of course it didn't work. What they found was that gender is very much a part of who you are at birth, and that this little boy was a little boy. And he didn't even know what had happened. He just knew he was being raised as a girl, but he felt very strongly that he was a boy. I think this is an experience that is certainly not unfamiliar to trans people, and it really drives home the answer here, which is that, yeah, this is a question of nature. Look, just to close here, the most important thing about gender is simply to celebrate it. It's a wonderful part of human diversity. It's one of the more fun parts of being a human being.